Welcome to the Immigrant Finance Podcast, a show dedicated to everything money, online business, and immigration, because immigrant families deserve to build generational wealth too. I'm your host, Adina, social entrepreneur, an immigration attorney, and financial educator and coach for immigrant families. I created the Immigrant Finance Platform with my husband, Mauricio, who immigrated to the U.S. 8 years ago after we struggled through the whole process of trying to figure out finances as an immigrant family alone. We wanted to share what we learned about building wealth with others along the way and created the Immigrant Finance School Group Coaching Program, where we teach immigrants and their families like you how to manage their money, get started investing, and build online businesses in just weeks, all with group accountability and support. Our clients have been able to get started investing and develop lifelong plans to build generational wealth regardless of their immigration status, actually launched an online business they've been dreaming of starting for years, bring in enough income to leave a job with a shitty boss, and book up their calendar for the rest of the month just after announcing their new coaching business. I'm coming to you with a new show several times a week with stories about online business lessons, money and mindset insights, and guest interviews to help you become financially empowered. Each episode will switch between personal finance and online business topics. Now let's get to this week's episode. Hello everyone, this is Adina from Immigrant Finance, and I'm here today with our guest Miguel Arjona-Rodriguez. Welcome, Miguel.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you further.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this all week, so I'm ready to get this going, get this rolling.
That's very kind. Yeah, we have a very special episode for everyone. We're going to be jumping all in on life insurance, which I've actually been wanting to do an episode about and make posts about for a really long time because I've got some opinions on it. Miguel knows, and so does he. And now is the right time because we have Miguel to share with us, who's actually a licensed life insurance agent. Is that the right way to say?
Agent, professional. I mean, I was an agent. Right now, I'm just I work with a broker, so I don't really have to rely on selling life insurance, which I prefer because I can shop for life insurance for the best insurance, and I don't have to sell it anymore. I prefer it a lot more this way. So.
Yes, which we're going to get into why that's so important. I'm looking forward. But before we jump in, go ahead and just introduce yourself, a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so as you said, my name is Miguel Arjona-Rodriguez. I am an immigrant from Colombia. I moved here to the United States when I was 5 years old. Right, I've done multiple different entrepreneurial things throughout my life. I'm sure most can relate. If there's money to be made and people to be helped, it's something that we're all kind of interested in doing or have goals to achieve and families to support and things like that. So as you said, I'm a licensed life insurance professional. I'm aspiring to be a financial advisor, wealth management professional as well in the future. I currently work right now at a asset management firm for a SmartVestor Pro, Dave Ramsey's SmartVestor Pro, and learn a lot from him, learn a lot from what we do. I help out a lot with the operations right now and setting up the accounts for people and answering questions for them. That's kind of where what I've been doing lately. I wasn't always in the financial world. I kind of led myself there. Life has kind of just pushed me there and set me into that mindset. So I moved here into the United States around, when I was like 5, as I think I said that, but I've always had been determined to create kind of like you, similar to generational wealth and for my family, and financial literacy was never really something that everybody around me was very, very knowledgeable about. And so that kind of just became an obsession. One day when I realized wow, we really someone needs to know about this. Someone has got to break that cycle,
Yeah.
So
when did you first realize that?
Going right before my senior year of high school, I think is when it really I've always known money was tight. We always needed money, but like senior year when we started talking about college and like
Mhm.
college is how much? Like,
Mhm.
where are we going to get this money from? How am I going to go to school? How is this going to happen? We don't have right credit. We don't have like, we don't know anything about FAFSA. We don't know anything about taking out student loans. So mom and I, we just dove in and just went for it, and took out the loans, figured it out on the way. I actually got a Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover my senior year from someone who stopped by my open house, and that one I like read that book really quick because it was so interesting on like how people managed their money and how people were able to become debt free, even the ones who don't make a lot of money, who aren't making six
Mm.
figures, just by off of compound interest. So like I was like, wow, so there is a way. There's ways to do this, and not be in the rat race your whole life. So that's where it really kind of started getting uh, big for me.
Wow, that's pretty young for you to realize it then.
Yeah, yeah,
It makes
yeah.
sense. Like sometimes it's not even a choice of when you need to start realizing how important this stuff all is. But it sounds like you were very resourceful early on and open to new ideas and,
Mhm.
willing to see how things could be different.
Yeah, yeah. I just didn't want to, I just didn't want to be in the same place that we have been most of my life at that point. So I was like, well, okay, I didn't know that I wanted to be a financial advisor, or know that I wanted to be in the financial world in general. I just knew that I wanted to start a business and I wanted to make something that helped people figure out, not figure out their income, figure out how they can make money, figure out how they can not stress about it, and it not be such a scary topic to talk about and such a bad thing, because there's people out there that want to help and want to make a difference in that, because of their life experiences. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense. And I'm just thinking about, there's so many people in our audience who listen to this show that they are like, kind of feel like they're the only ones really thinking about this stuff and no one else around them is, or maybe they're the
Hmm.
first of their family to be thinking about investing. So I'm wondering if that was your experience at all. And if so, like how that felt kind of being on your own to some degree.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That one was like a topic that I talked with my mom about. She's the kind of the one who really pushed me the most because we came here together to the United
Mhm.
States, and she was almost my age when we moved here, so she was a couple years older than me. But I always talk to her about like, oh, what are we going to do with this? She had been very involved growing up with the bills and figuring out the money and figuring out what we're going to do for money. And that's when I realized I like okay, like once I opened up to the idea of investing and figuring that out, I started talking to like-minded people and people who were also in similar situations. Some of my best friends, grew up very poor as well, and then we were just like, no, we're gonna break that cycle. We're gonna figure out how to get there one day to a point where we're comfortable with our family based off of investing and financial planning and budgeting and things like that. So kind of just had to learn it on our own, but still just always being intentful with what we're going to do and the plan.
That's so powerful because the so much of it is just making the decision, right? I feel like that is
Right.
often the hardest part for people is like believing in themselves that it is possible for them to have a different life and to have more stability and be
Hmm.
able to build wealth. So it's like making the decision to believe in yourself in some ways, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think that's having the mindset of knowing that like you don't have to repeat the cycle. You can break the cycle. You can move past it and start your own. Whether it's like for your family in the future. No matter what it is, you don't have to settle for that. So I just truly believe that I'm not the most wealthy person in the world, but I'm making it. I'm doing all right, and I can help people based off of just the little amount of life that I've lived so far. So that's kind of, yeah, that's just that's my drive every day.
I can hear the conviction. I love it. It's so cool. So let's talk about kind of your journey getting into the personal finance world a little deeper, starting with, I know you mentioned you were previously in the life insurance space. So how did you kind of go from having this awakening at the end of high school to understand the importance of money to getting there?
So it's kind of a funny story how I got into the financial service industry. So as I mentioned, like it started in high school and kind of led into college. And in college, that's when I was bouncing around from different careers. As far as like, I started out wanting to be a teacher, and then I was like, no, I don't want to be a teacher. I want to be a social worker. No, I don't want to be a social worker. I want to be in sales and business marketing. So I started doing sales and business marketing, and then that's when the online businesses like opened up my mind to like, wow, the internet is so cool, you
Yes.
know. So it
You
was
can
like,
do
okay,
all.
yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, so what if I start freelancing and doing digital marketing and managing social media accounts for different businesses? And I started doing that for a few years, and I was doing that on the side, and still in school, and eventually like went full time in that. And after like it was coming up around 2020, it was like 2019, around 2019, 2020, it started kind of crashing, and I started losing my drive for it. And so I found a side job doing selling furniture. So I was selling furniture at a big retailer called Art Van. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it, but Art Van was a big one here in the West Coast, or I'm sorry, the East Coast. And they kind of just it took me like a while to kind of get used to it there. And I was living on my own, and this billion-dollar company eventually went bankrupt and was telling us that, oh, they're just restructuring. It's only like Chapter 11 bankruptcy, or Chapter 7, one of the two, one of the ones where it's just restructuring. Like Apple has done it as well.
Mhm.
So we weren't too worried about it. We're like, oh, okay, it's just a restructuring process. And a couple of weeks later, sure enough, we got the email that said like your termination begins March, March 20th, 2020.
Oh my
And if you remember that, COVID was just like starting to hit the US.
God, that was the time.
Yeah, that was that time. And it wasn't even because of COVID. It was because it was at that time, it was just because the company was just wasn't able to pay its bills and things like that. So COVID was starting, and we had no idea that everything was going to close down. The whole world was going to shut down like in a matter of weeks at that point, or months. Um, and that happened, and I realized like I was listening to coworkers who have been there for 10, 20 years plus, that they were losing their insurance, the stock market was crashing. People were freaking about their money, about their health, about insurance. And I was like, wow, the whole world is shutting down, and I don't have a job anymore, and I don't know what else to do, and nobody knows what to do. And it was probably 3,500 employees that lost their jobs at that point, and insurance. And it made me really like think like what I could do to help them, because it just really like hit home for me that these people who were saving up their retirement accounts and saving up all this vacation time
Mm.
just got lost and robbed of it, so
Yeah.
so I was like, wow, it would be a perfect time right now to find some way to help in this time. And that's when um, I reached out to a friend who was an insurance agent, and or no, she was a financial advisor. I'm sorry, at that point, she was a financial advisor, and she kind of put me onto this company after one company reached out to me, and I kind of learned about it, but I was like, I got kind of schemy vibes for this. I was like, I'm not going to go with them. So I
Mhm.
went with the other one that I knew one of my friends worked with, and I just became an agent. I'm not gonna call the company out or anything, but I be, I just became an agent there, and started learning about it, and then that's where it like really started like um, becoming an obsession, because I was like, wow, there's so much to learn here, and this is how generational wealth occurs and how people can make money based off of, just compound interest, and how people can protect their families and themselves and not have to worry about these funeral costs. All those kind of things were just like really, really becoming a passion of mine. And I took that time during 2020 to learn the business and to learn how to help people in that way. So yeah, it really all just came from losing my job in March 2020.
Yeah, it's one of those things, first of all, like just a reminder that we think 9 to 5 jobs are this idea of stability and safety, and that like having a business is risky, but anything can
Mm-hmm.
happen. Like company can fire someone at any moment. It wasn't even COVID. It's just,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
so like your own story I'm hearing of building toward your passion is like what's actually been more stable than trying to just get a 9 to 5 job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. Because I mean, like in this industry, people are there. It's an uncomfortable topic a lot of times, and the more I've talked with people, the easier the conversations have been, the better questions I've been able to ask,
Mm-hmm.
and even being able to just to help my immediate family with things has been like just a huge blessing.
That's amazing. So what happened? Because you didn't stay there. So what went on once you got into the life insurance industry?
So once I got into the industry, I just focused on life insurance at that point. At this business, you were able to study for your SIE and get your Series 6 and 63 and go the whole process to become a financial advisor. But I wanted to get niche focus on life insurance. So um, because all of these different podcasts that I heard of people talking about the financial industry, they're like focus on a niche, get niche focused, and the business that I was with was very much about just do whatever with whoever, like just help anybody, just make money, pretty much it. And that just wasn't really what I was about. I was like, well, I didn't really like the concept of it, because I wanted to be more. I guess what's the word I'm looking for? I wanted to be more relatable to people and be able to help them in a way that I know I would buy the product myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's where like the independent agency really kind of started speaking to me. And I was like, well, what if I switch over to a different company where I don't have to sell life insurance? I can offer it if people ask me for it and they want it, but I don't have to sell it. So I started looking at uh, more independent agencies, and asset management firms, wealth management firms, which I barely really even knew about until I looked through my friends groups on Facebook and saw that a guy that I bought his wife's car many years ago, actually owned an asset management firm, and I was like, oh, what? So I just asked him for some tips on it, and I kind of, just got to talking with him about what I was doing, what my goal was, my long term goal was of, not just being an insurance agent, but being a financial advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought me into his office a few times. We kind of talked, and little did I know he was actually interviewing me, and eventually hired me to be part of his team, here at his office. And that's kind of where it led me. And so now I'm here and I can offer insurance to people, life insurance to people, but I don't have to sell it. I
Mm-hmm.
can I can work with people like directly and kind of talk to them about what they're doing as far as working through their baby steps, or whether they're just looking to invest, whether they're starting out. Uh, some of the clients that we have $0 and are just wanting to start up a Roth IRA,
Mm-hmm.
or some of them have over $1 million and they're looking to allocate their money into different accounts and just diversify their portfolio
Mm-hmm.
with good growth and low fees. So that was like a really big factor that made me want to work here, and be part of this team and grow myself.
That makes a lot of sense, and I'm so happy for you. That sounds really exciting and fulfilling. I want to dive a little bit more into the life insurance, you know, journey and field and all of that, because I know we started talking about it a little bit the other day, and I shared with
Hmm.
you one concern I've had about life insurance that
Oh yeah.
wanting to share with this audience and just haven't had the right moment, but I think talking with you about it is the right moment since you actually have been in the field and you know a lot more about it than I do. So my concern has been that a lot of immigrants I speak to in our community are being sold life insurance very aggressively by people who have
Hmm.
a financial incentive to sell it and sell that and nothing else. And they're being sold it as like an investment tool primarily, not just for life insurance. So yeah, I have concerns about that. Let's talk about it. But kind of do you want to kind of
Yeah.
explain where you're at on that?
Yeah. Well, here's one thing that I will say for sure. The business that I was originally with, that I started out with, pushed whole life insurance like no other. And the way they explained it, the way they presented it, and I was just like, wow, why would you not do this? This is so cool. I even talked to my mom about it. I was like, Mom, this is like the coolest thing. You can be insured and also be growing a savings account at the same time. And and it's basically like a really good investment, and you'll be growing your money so fast. And like, I was pretty naive at that time, but like getting more into it, I realized that was awful, because one, I wouldn't purchase it myself. So that alone was like a turn off. I'm not going to purchase something like that because it's crazy expensive. It's really expensive, and I didn't like the concept. Eventually, learning more about it, that I saw a lot of debates online about, and that's when I started really doing heavy research in the difference between whole life and term life.
Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you
like
mind giving a little overview of what the difference is for people who are new to life insurance?
yeah. So basically, to think about whole life insurance, you have to think about it as like as you're owning your insurance, compared to term life, you're just basically renting. Is like the simplest way to think about it. So whole life insurance, you're basically paying to permanently protect your life for your whole life. And term life insurance is just simply, it's a certain period of time, usually between 10 to 30 years, and it terminates at a certain point, whether it's 10, 15, 20, 30 years, whatever. But if you look at the numbers on it, they're on the premiums of it, it's drastically different. It's a
Mhm.
huge difference. Term life insurance is there to protect you, and in case something were to happen, to just be a backbone for you while you are working on getting your funds up. And compared to whole life insurance, it's there to do the same thing, um, but also it's building up what's called a cash value.
Mhm.
And the cash value is pretty much considered to be a savings account that you're building up in there. And it could take 5, 10, 15 years before you see a huge amount of savings in there, because you're paying those high premiums every month, which could be, like with a term life insurance, you'd be paying 10, 15, 20, $25 a month, depending on your age and health. And with a whole life insurance, you could be paying 200, 300, $400 a month.
Yeah.
So it's so you're paying a lot more into that. But if you look at it more as a as a way that, not so much as an investment tool, because I don't think that it should be an investment tool. um, you could make a lot more money by buying term insurance to basically just afford your debt in case something were to happen to you,
Mhm.
and investing the difference in different types of funds,
Yeah.
is what a lot of people tend to do, um, and prefer to do, honestly. And that's not something you have to do. But if you can afford whole life insurance and it wouldn't break the bank for you, like, but if you are an immigrant, I would, I just don't think, and you're an immigrant and you don't have the funds and you don't have the resources to be able to afford that, but it sounds like that's the way out. I would highly advise talking to someone, talking to multiple advisors and seeking out different resources to be able to really get knowledgeable about what it is you're putting your money into.
Yeah, thank you for that overview. That's really helpful. What I've seen a lot is people who don't have a lot of money and have very low incomes and are spending high amounts on life insurance and thinking that's the only way to invest. So I think it sounds like what you're describing is another path, which is what we recommend too, which is get the basic life insurance to protect yourself, but the money that's going to be invested, like actually invest it in the stock market straight up. Like don't do it through a life insurance product because there's going to be high fees, right? Like it's more difficult to access. What are other reasons, if any?
It doesn't, I mean, like compared to the stock market, it could grow. It could grow maybe 3-4%. But if you put it in the right types of mutual funds throughout a 10-year period, it could grow at 8%.
Yeah.
Or more. Like who knows? I mean, the stock market is really unpredictable, but it's definitely a lot safer if you go with just some basic mutual funds that aren't like heavy in fees and just grow throughout time, and you can build that compound interest if you're in it for the long run. So that's what I think is the best move, and what my mentor talks to a lot of people about.
I totally agree. And like I said, I'm much more new to the life insurance space than you are. But I just knew something was up when I kept hearing and talking to people who like no one in their families are invested. They haven't ever invested and they're spending all this money on life insurance and being sold. It makes me really frustrated and I want to get the message out to people. So I really appreciate you sharing this.
Yeah, I mean, a huge one. Like, I guess I didn't really describe like why I personally don't like whole life insurance, and that's just because if you were to pass, God forbid you pass away, the cash value that you've built up, which is that savings account that I just described, does not get paid out to you. You can use it anytime that you're alive, but you don't know when you're going to die. So you can use, if you have $50,000 sitting in that cash value, aka your savings account, and within that insurance policy, if you are to pass away, your family won't get the death benefit and the cash value. So if you have $50,000 in cash value and $500,000 death benefit, you don't get $550,000. You get $500,000. That $50,000 just disappears. It just stays in the company.
Yeah.
But if you're alive, you can take out that $50,000 cash value, aka savings account, and use it for tax free for whatever you want. You can take it out and buy a new car. You can pay off your mortgage. You can pay for your kids' college if you want to. Pay rent with it, whatever. But you have to pay that back with interest. And that's another part that I don't really like about it. It doesn't make sense to me because it's your money. So why would you?
Yeah.
Why would you have to pay interest on your money that you have in an insurance policy?
You're talking about when people take out loans on their insurance policy, like borrow.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that because I spoke to someone who was saying that I had this debate with this guy and I was trying to really understand why he was so into it because he was kind of one of these people I'm describing that like hasn't had a lot of investing experience in his family, and he basically was like convinced by a friend that life insurance was the way to make wealth and like was getting trained to be a life insurance agent. And he was telling me that, this loan you can take out whenever you want. And I'm like, have you looked at the fees or like the interest you would pay if you do that? And he's like, no, and it's, but you said it so well. Like, why would you pay interest on your own money?
Yeah, it's ludicrous. Like, I don't understand why that would make sense to anybody. So that was a huge red flag, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna be part of this where they're pushing to do that and sell that just because they get paid. It's a good payout. You make money from it. And like, but that's not how I want to make my money. So I'm all set on that, you know?
Yeah. And, I'm just going to say this, and it might piss off some people. It might piss off some life insurance people who are listening.
I'm sure they're already pissed.
Yeah, they're already pissed. But this needs to get out. It's also like, why are immigrants being targeted? Right?
Right. Yeah. They go and they work, they work and they're making money and trying to protect their family when they're here. And they're looking for the best possible possibilities, and they're huge targets, especially. So like, yeah, it's not good. It's not really. It's not
I
fair.
see people online who seem to be targeting immigrants for life insurance sales, and so that's why this is something I feel very strongly about. And making sure our community is educated and aware and has the right information, because a lot of what we teach is becoming a financial advocate for yourself and knowing what questions to ask and to look for more information. And you don't want to just kind of believe whatever someone's telling you. And maybe that's a good segue into kind of what to look for in a financial advisor, and like talking about the fiduciary and all that duty, because with a life insurance agent, like their interest is in sales of the product.
Right.
They have no duty to look out for your best interest.
Right. And that's where I think when looking for life insurance or a financial advisor, I think looking for a business, an independent one, would be a pretty good one to work with, I think, because they don't have the obligation to sell you life insurance. That's just something you can talk with them about starting an investment account, whether it's a brokerage account or a Roth IRA, working with an advisor who comes up on broker check, like that's a good place to look for someone is broker check, to see what their qualifications are, what kind of licenses they are, how long they've been in the business, and working with someone who has the heart of a teacher and wants to teach you how to do this, and also guide you with what the best options are. Because, for example, where I'm at, we work with alongside these companies that give us great tips and great stocks to put these people's money in, like to put everyone's money in. And a lot of times people will ask us like, oh, okay, well, we'll put our money here with you because this is the best place to put it, but also we need some life insurance. Can you help us find that? And then that's where they'll talk to me, and then I can shop the market because we have like 100 different carriers that we can go through, and I can look for, based off of specific needs, so like specific needs of the client, and figure out what the best option would be based off of their budget, based how much they can afford and how much they just want. Like, it's super simple there. So like working with an independent advisor or an advisor who holds itself to a fiduciary standard and has a good record and the heart of a teacher, I think would be the best place to find someone to get life insurance from.
I love that. The heart of a teacher. That's really important. What would you recommend for where to look for a financial advisor for people who do want to hire someone kind of long-term to work with if they don't feel like they can do it on their own?
Well, I would say, one good company, that life insurance company that I know we recommend a lot, is called Banner Life. They are pretty good. They have really good customer service. They are kind, and they have good rates for the most part, and pretty understanding of different health. But I would say for the best place, you asked for like the best place to find a financial advisor.
Yeah.
I would start with in your community, wherever it is, somewhere that's near you, someone in your area. You could look for a SmartVestor pros in your area, that work with Dave Ramsey. Not everybody likes Dave Ramsey, and I don't agree with everything he does, but I know that the SmartVestor pros that he hires on, or that partners with, they go through a rigorous amount of questions to make sure that they will put their clients' needs first and make sure that they are getting taken care of, and they have to be held to a certain standard in order to be considered a SmartVestor Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just from my personal experience of working with one. So that's why I like where I'm at. But I know some in my area that aren't SmartVestor Pros, and they're just good at what they do, and they're kind people, and they get good vibes. So, I would just Google someone in your area, asset management firms in your area, and interview them. I would, you don't need to be interviewed by them. I think you should interview them and see how you feel. Get a good feel for them and find out which one works best for you.
Mm-hmm. And then can you describe what a fiduciary is?
Yeah, so a fiduciary is just someone who has a legal obligation to put your financial well-being first, or to put the client's needs first, to make the best decision for them, and not so much their own. So just because they're not going to make a lot of money from it, doesn't mean that they can't help in that way. They are legally bound to help you and to help put your needs first.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing that. So if there's anything else you want to share on the topic of life insurance, feel free. And also it'd be great to hear what the number one lesson you wish you had learned about life insurance earlier.
Well, definitely the number one lesson I wish I learned would probably be to not use life insurance as an investment tool. There are investment vehicles that you can use as investments, and term life insurance, whole life insurance is it's not the one. It is not the one.
Yeah.
I don't believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we covered most of it. Is there anything else you want to add?
Off the top of my head, I don't think so. I mean, I think we covered pretty much everything that I was thinking
thorough. Yeah, you gave lots of good definitions too. Thank you. I put you on the spot for that.
Yeah, it's all good.
So let people know, where can they find you and support you and connect?
So I'm working on a website. I've been working on one. I have one, but it's like it's in the process. So right now, people can just follow me on my Instagram of either 1Y Motive. I have a YouTube channel that I'm working on starting. You can follow me there. And my 1Y Motive Instagram has like my personal channel that you can DM me and ask me questions and talk with me and just get to know me a little bit more on there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Miguel. This was great.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Immigrant Finance Show. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already, and leave us a review so we can reach more people to help. Also, did you know we started a free Facebook group for immigrant families who want to build generational wealth? We're doing free monthly trainings covering everything from investing to online business. Plus, you will be in there with a network of other inspiring members of our community. Make sure to join us at facebook.com/groups/immigrantfinance, and we'll see you there.